ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Namibia Business School at the University of Namibia, and welcome to our course on Gigonomics, a toolbox for gig entrepreneurs in the post-COVID-19 economy. My name is Professor Grafton White, and I am the director of the Namibia Business School. Looking forward to taking you through this innovative program that we've put together for gig entrepreneurs. Our first session is going to look at interesting idea, and I note that many of you got involved in the Facebook discussion already, and it'd be interesting to get to hear about your particular expectations and ambitions for working in the gig economy. So but we'll pick those up later on. What's the definition? What do we mean by Gigonomics? And I rather than just come up with a dry set of words, I thought, let me tell a story. When I was leaving university, I suppose, many years ago, in the pre-COVID stage, my preoccupation, and as I'm sure with many of you, similar experience, your preoccupation was just to find a job. Let's get out there, find a job, preferably a full-time job, be indentured labor, a boss, and the experience for a lot of people, especially in those early years, is one of excitement rates into a sense of boredom and not being able to use the full extent of your capability. In those years or in those days were a record of what you were doing each year, and you hesitated to have any gaps on that CV, because any gaps in that CV you would have to explain. However, COVID has changed that situation for most of them. It's probably unfair to blame it all on COVID. I think COVID has probably accelerated the trends that have already taken place. Post-COVID now, we're talking about projects. We're talking about a mix of things, not necessarily just one full-time job, but working on different things at the same time. You're going to be employed not for your time as a full-time employee, 9 to 5, for your skills. And we also foresee that most of us are going to be employed as freelance workers. We won't have a boss, we'll be our own bosses for the most part. And that has implications for our brand. When we are an employee, we are within the brand of the organization we're working for. But when you're freelance, your brand, your individual reputations of great importance. And we're predicting that in this new post-COVID economy, the CV will be a record of great performances, just like a gig, the musical gig or an acting gig. You'll be pointing to be a record of those positive and great performances that you've achieved. So then if we look at this change, we can define Gigonomics then. It is about understanding the world of work in a freelance performance economy, not just in the old economy where it was about accounting for your time. It is about understanding how you work as a freelancer and performance skills based, and where the economy is looking to use your skills and value your skills in the different areas that you're working in. And you're going to be working on a multiplicity of those things. Ideally, you want a portfolio of skills that you want to bring to the economy. Some authors have talked about the couple of books on Gigonomics and where the term comes from. A couple of authors, one of those authors were Jay and Simon Curry, and they wrote a book called Gigonomics, The End of the 9 to 5 Era. It's an era, and how to thrive in the post-job economy. That's beginning to sound like where we're going. Survive and thrive in the post-job economy. There was a second book in 2018 by Julian Haber, and he talked about Gigonomics, a field guide for freelancers in the gig economy. So this is what we are addressing ourselves to as a business school. Okay, so you want to be a gig entrepreneur. Why don't you take a moment to think about this and think about what it is that you think is important, or what are the things, the skills and that you need to be a successful gig entrepreneur? What are the attitudes? What are the competencies that you think you will need? Just in your chat box, just note down a few ideas, a few areas that you think, so that we can begin to discuss some of those. Yeah, please take a moment to do that. Just note down, what do you think it takes to be a successful gig entrepreneur? Wow, okay, some really good ideas coming through. So relevant, identifying the needs of the environment, be good at networking, that's an excellent idea. Be good at networking, yeah, sure. Perseverance, and to have a strategy. Again, being flexible. A couple of you are saying flexibility, fast, being able to respond quickly to the changing environment. Yes, excellent. To have a strong motivation and a commitment to idea. And I'm seeing again some more ideas on resilience, perseverance. Thank you for all of those comments. Some great comments coming through there. Erica, collaboration, fantastic. And knowing your target audience. Thank you for that. Those are some great ideas coming through. Some of the ideas that we looked at when we looked at the research, what the research were telling us, and I'm hoping this screen's going to move sometime in the future. Good, excellent. First thing that we've identified is confidence, self-confidence. You've got to be willing to take risks. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there. And sometimes, you know, not everything will work, but the confidence to take risk, and even if those risks don't, all of those opportunities or gambits that you make come off, the confidence to stay with it and keep going. Then there's discipline. The discipline to work hard, stick to a plan, and see it through. And this is really important, especially for gig entrepreneurs, because it can be a lonely existence. So you've got to be able to self-motivate. You've got the confidence and have the self-motivation to keep going. The third area that we lighted upon was this idea of awareness. What have you got? What are the skills that you have got in your toolbox? We're all born with skills, innate areas where we are passionate about. There are areas that we just immediately switches on for us, that really get to us. And awareness of those areas of passion, because passions usually lead to a predisposition towards skills in a particular area. And if you're passionate about organizing and everything needs to be in place and everything needs to be just so, then you've already got predisposed to being an organizer or a manager in that kind of thinking. So, you know, it would be easy for you to acquire the skills in those areas. So awareness of your passions and your skill sets, what you bring to the table, what's in your toolbox is really important. Curiosity, a willingness or the ability to think outside the, to find out what you don't know. Yeah, a willingness to find out what you don't know, and yeah, chase it down. Be relentless in finding out if you've got a passion in a particular area and you want to know more about how to function in that area. The curiosity to chase down ideas and to pursue lines of thought, you know, when others are sleeping, you're researching and trying to find out more about this particular area. So curiosity, how do things work? Why do the things work in the way they do? That is really an important attribute for a gig entrepreneur. And then there's creativity, which you would expect to be there. And some of you mentioned creativity, the ability to think outside the box, to come up with innovative solutions, new ideas. There's some people that, you know, will have half a dozen new ideas before breakfast. Yeah. You may not be like that, but you can learn how to be creative. And the tool that we're going to deal with today is going to help you to learn how to be creative, to tap into your creativity. Sometimes as young people, we have learned in the education system to be rote learners, to be repeat what you've seen from the teacher, and that's the only side of our thinking, if you like, that has been exercised and encouraged as a youth. But we've all got creative capacity, and we just need to learn how to tap into that creative capacity and to allow it to survive and thrive. And then finally, tenacity, the willingness or the ability to hold on, be driven. Yeah, hungry people do not quit. I like that. Yeah, hungry people do not quit. Or put it another way, necessity is the mother of invention. So, you know, when you've got a hunger or a drive, and you want to succeed, then have the tenacity to not quit. Quitting is a bad habit, which we need to overcome. Okay, so over the next few slides, we're going to look at the course structure. We're going to talk about the objectives, content of course, and timing. So this is just the introductory part before we get into the main meat of the session. So you want to be a gig entrepreneur. This course will provide you with a set of tools that will help you to create businesses that survive and thrive. And I like the emphasis there on businesses, you know, business ideas that will survive and thrive. It's no longer good enough just to have one business idea or one stream of income. We need to have multiple streams of income in this post-COVID era. Okay, I want to spend a moment on this particular slide because it is key to the understanding of what is needed within the gig economy, what is needed by gig entrepreneurs. We have done some research in the business school, and I hope you can see my pointer. And in the business school, we've done some research, and we've identified there are 6 key areas of learning that are needed within the gig economy. And what we're planning to do is to share with you 1 or 2 key tools within each of these areas. So the first one is product or service. Every gig entrepreneur needs a product or service that they're taking to the market, that they're selling, a unique service or a unique product that they're taking out there. And it may not be, you may be a baker of cakes, yeah, a baker. So you would say, well, making cakes is not a unique product. It can be if you apply yourself and you come up with an innovative way of either making that cake or the taste of the cake or delivering that cake, or that, you know, you can come up with something that is special and unique to you. And though it's a cake and all cakes have the basic ingredient, you can make it unique from your from a point of view and create a market for yourself in the way that you do things and what you deliver. So the product or service is important. Now, sitting around this table, I think in the Facebook chat, there were lots of ideas about the different products or services that people wanted to get into. So we're not going to deal with specific products and services for you individually, but we're going to show you how to tap into your creative ideas or your creative reserves to identify products and services that you can deliver. And then once you've got that product or service, you need to understand operation, how to bring that product service to market, And then at some point in the life cycle of your business, you're going to want to interact with other people, hire people, bring them on board, or even just persuade other people to become part of your business operations. So you're going to need to understand something about human capital or people capital, and how to invest in that capital to bring out the best for you and your business. And then the fourth area here is customers and markets. And maybe it should say markets and customers, because first of all, you need to identify your markets, where the cluster of your customers are, and then once you get those customers on board, how to keep them, how to retain them. Many of us spend far too much time trying to get new customers and spend very little time nurturing existing customers. We're going to talk about that. Then the part we all love to get involved in is keeping count, or keeping score, if you want to use the football or sports parlance imagery. Keeping score, so that's finance. Making money is great, but actually it's just a simple way of keeping score. And in the final area that we want to touch on in this short course for gig entrepreneurs is strategy. How to make your business idea sustainable. So those are the 6 areas that we're going to deal with. And here we just summarize what I've just gone through. So the objectives here is that by the end of this course, you will have a set of practical tools that will help you develop your business ideas to suit your market. Secondly, get your product or service to market through operations. Harness the energy of others and realize your vision. That's the human capital. Find markets and develop customers and close deals. That customers and market. Stay on top of your turnover, profits and cash. That's the finance. And plan effectively for success that will last. That's your strategy. Okay, we want you to mark in your calendars the dates. So from the 5th, today, next Saturday the 12th, and the 19th, the 26th, and then into October the 3rd and the 10th. So for the next 6 Saturdays, or for today plus 5 more Saturdays, we're going to deal with each of these topics, one per Saturday, and we're going to start at 10 o'clock. So I would, we'd appreciate if people come in to that session by 10:45, 10 to 10, so that we can have a prompt start. Thank you. Okay, so today we're going to deal with the product or service aspect, and we're going to look at how to develop a business idea to suit your market. And the tool that we're going to introduce you to today is design thinking. Design thinking. Now, I know that a lot of people think design thinking is a very simple idea, very almost too simplistic for words. But I want you to watch very carefully, and because it is a very, very powerful tool. It's a tool that's being used by major corporations to identify new products or services, or modify existing products or services, or look for complementary products or services using this particular tool. So I want to show you a short video that will introduce the idea.
Design thinking is a 5-step process to come up with meaningful ideas that solve real problems for a particular group of people. The process is taught in top design and business schools around the world. It has brought many businesses lots of happy customers and helped entrepreneurs from all around the world to solve problems with innovative new solutions. Step 1. Empathize. The purpose of Step 1 is to conduct interviews that give you an idea about what people really care about. We need to empathize with their situation. For example, if you want to help old people, you might find that they want to keep the ability to walk around. In your conversations, they might share with you different ways they can do that. Later into the interview, you'll want to dig a little deeper, look for personal stories or situations where things became difficult. Ideally, you redo the process with many people with the same problem. Step 2. Define the problem. Looking at the interviews, you can now understand the actual needs that people are trying to fulfill with certain activities. One way to do that is to underline the verbs or activities that the people mentioned when talking about their problems, like going for a walk, meeting old friends for tea, or simply going grocery shopping around the corner store. You might realize it's not so much about going out, but more about staying in touch. After your analysis, formulate a problem statement. Some elderly are afraid to be lonely. They want to stay connected. Step 3. Ideate. Now focus only on the problem statement and come up with ideas that solve the problem. The point is not to get a perfect idea, but rather to come up with many ideas, like unique virtual reality experiences, senior-friendly hoverboards, or a modified pushcart. Whatever it is, sketch up your best ideas and show them to the people you are trying to help, so you can get their feedback. Step 4. Prototype. Now take a moment to reflect on what you have learned from your conversations about the different ideas. Ask yourself, how does your idea fit in the context of people's actual lives? Your solution could be a combination of a new idea and what is already being used. Then connect the dots, sketch up your final solution, and go build a real prototype that's just good enough to be tested. Step 5. Test. Now test your prototype with actual users. Don't defend your idea in case people don't like it. The point is to learn what works and what didn't, so any feedback is great. Then go back to ideation or prototyping and apply your learning. Repeat the process until you have a prototype that works and solves the real problem. Now you are ready to change the world or open shop.
Excellent. These are the 5 key stages. And okay, here they are. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. 5 key stages. Note there is no numbering of these stages because it's not a sequential process. It's actually an iterative process. You might get down to, you might do your empathizing work to identify the problem, define a problem statement, get to the idea stage, and then think, the ideas that are coming up don't look that particularly great or applicable, so you go back and perhaps redefine the problem and see and tweak it to make it work. So it's not a simple linear process. So empathy, observing the environment, consult with experts and potential customers to fully understand the problem and the needs of your customers, your key customers, or the potential customers for your product or service. Define the problem, come up with a problem statement that defines the problem. Yeah, this is really important. You got to get it, if you don't define the problem, then you don't know what you're aiming at. You'll keep oscillating between different types of problems or near problems, but you need to at some point define exactly what the problem is you're trying to address, and then work at ideas to try and come up with a variety of ideas in the ideate stage that could possibly serve or could possibly address this problem. And it doesn't have to be, they do not have to be sensible ideas. Yeah. One of the things that suggests here in the ideation stage is try and get as many diverse people as possible to sit down with you and brainstorm, come at it from all different angles and different perspectives. You'll be surprised. Sometimes it's a really offbeat idea that either solves the problem or deals with the problem in a very unique way, or sparks a thought that leads to the solution. And sometimes, having all business managers around the table, or all lawyers, or all accountants sitting around the table trying to come up with a problem, is that they've been trained for years to think in a particular way. So they're all thinking the same way. This is what in the management discipline we call group think. Because all the people are in one organization, or all the people are from a certain discipline, or they're all IT people or technologists or whatever, they've been trained over many years to think in a particular way. So try and get artists and people from different backgrounds to come together, if you can, to help you with the ideation stage. Then prototyping. Prototyping is about rapidly developing something, test it, redevelop it, trial a solution, and if it is not working, ditch it. You know, we have a saying here that in this experimentation or test phase, which is the next one, you fail fast, ditch quickly. You know, fail fast, ditch quickly. Don't hang about. You know? So this is the idea of prototyping, something quick and dirty. So you can test it with your target market, and if it doesn't work, get rid of it. Okay, so let's try this out. Let's try out this process. Let's take a problem, an example, and let's see how it works. Okay, this is your friendly neighborhood taxi man, and his business problem, he owns a fleet of taxis, but now he's in the middle of a pandemic. During the normal business, he, because he's a upstanding citizen, he knows that his car can take 4 people, maximum 5, in a normal operating environment. So, including himself, he can take 3 passengers or possibly 4 if there's a small passenger in the middle. But in COVID, the government are telling him now that he can only accommodate 2 people in his car. So 1 person beside him and 1 person in the back because of social distancing. So this is a real problem for him in his business, because now if he was normally carrying 3 passengers, now he can only take 2. That's a 30% reduction or 33% reduction in his business and potential profitability. If he's got a fleet of taxis, in this particular example, he may have 5 taxis. That's a lot of lost income, lost potential there. So the problem is, how does he deal with this problem? What solutions can he come up with? So I want you to spend a few minutes. What solutions? Who should this taxi owner be talking to look for solutions to this problem? Just very quickly, who should he be talking to? So if you're in this situation, who would you want to talk to? So the possible answers would be taxi ranks, people at the taxi ranks, yeah. Other taxi drivers, absolutely. Taxi passengers. So these would be the people that you'd be talking to. You're talking to these folks. These are your target audience, so to speak. And what do you think that if you are talking to them and you've empathized with them, how do you think, or what do you think would be their conceptualization of the problem? So how would they see the problem? What do you think the problem is? Yeah. Remember, before we get to solution thinking, let's define the problem. So we've empathized, we've gone out there, we've consulted with our customers, our potential customers, and in this case, taxi users, taxi drivers, passengers, people at the taxi rank. We've consulted with them and they've told us, given us an idea of what the problem is. How would you, give me an idea of what you think, how would you define the problem? Give me 1 or 2 examples. Question out. Talk to the road authorities. Okay, but that's nice, thank you. But the problem with that is that road authorities probably never use taxis, and that's probably one of the problems with government, is that they have people working in situations with coming up with solutions who never use the service. So again, importance there is talk to the people who you're going to be selling the service to. Okay. Any ideas of how you would define the problem? Okay, I'm seeing a few suggestions here. Let me just open them up. Thank you. Okay, one person described the problem as reduction of taxi owners' income. Great. For the taxi driver said there's a problem with survival. Okay. Again, another one in reduction of income. Someone is saying less customers for extended kilometers. So cost increase versus profit. The problem for passengers who used to be able to use the service, maybe they want to split the taxi fees. Yep, so I can see ideas here as to what the problem is. Thank you. So again, the important aspect here is, or the important point here is to try and define the problem from the point of view of the user. And most of the examples you gave here conceptualize the problem from the point of view of the business owner, how to maintain their income during the COVID pandemic. But when you talk about the problem from the perspective of the customer, it's how to travel safely and affordably during the pandemic. Can you see the difference here? Can you see why it's important to get the customer's perspective? Because when you look at it, when you look at the problem from the business perspective is how to maintain income, then you're thinking about changing the tariffs, probably putting the price up, because you're thinking about the problem from the business perspective. But that's not, as from the customer's point of view, that is not the way, because if you put the price up, then they may consider walking, in which case, instead of having 2 customers per taxi, you might end up with none. But if you look at the problem from the customer's perspective, how to travel safely, that's what they're concerned about, and affordably during the pandemic. And this is a really important distinction. And this is one of the reasons why this particular technique is so interesting and so widely used among many large corporates across the world. So once you've identified the problem from a customer's point of view, then you're ready to move into the ideation stage, and it's easier then to focus on solutions that are addressing a customer problem rather than solutions that are addressing a business problem or a problem from the point of view of the business person. Let's engage again. What ideas would you come up with that would help solve the problem from the perspective of the customer? Give me some ideas on the chat again. Okay, so someone said free masks in the cars. Okay, that's one idea. So free masks. Families now will travel separately. Okay, so you only have a family in the car. Oh, I see. Okay, I see where you're coming through with that. So you don't travel with strangers. Okay, interesting. Pick social bubbles, families. Okay, I think that was just a restating of that particular one. Therefore, it's safe and doesn't impact on income. So you can fill up the car, but you've got to have people from one family. Any more? Hand sanitizers, absolutely. Hand sanitizers in the car, in the taxi, and you're required to use it for entry. Create an app, so making the taxi come to the customer. So reduce traveling distances. Okay. Test guns to take temperature. Great. After hours service, I love it. Okay, so some really wild ideas here. Okay, I love that one. Open the windows so that the coronavirus will fly out. I love it. Okay, great stuff. Drive with the windows down. I love it. Okay, that's some really great ideas. So it's important at this stage that you don't dismiss ideas, because sometimes wild ideas might actually spark some really workable ideas. Okay, so we've come up with an idea, and the idea that we've come up with, for instance, is to create a screen around the driver and passengers to have their own little bubble, and I think somebody mentioned that, their own little bubble within the car. So if you can keep them separate, because the passengers want to travel safely. So if they're in their own space and they're not having to share a space with anyone else, then that accommodates the safety aspect. And obviously, if you've got a full car, then the prices won't change. So it addresses affordability. So that's the idea we're working with. We're thinking that somehow we want to come up with a way of partitioning the interior of the car that keeps each passenger separate. Now, we can do this we're thinking about a perspex partition that you slot into the car, and maybe the first prototype that will come up with, you've got these rigid perspex dividers, and they're too rigid and they're too unwieldy. So we rework it, and we've come up with a bendable plastic partition, and after a few iterations, we've made it a flat pack, so you can actually carry it as a flat pack and construct it very rapidly, very quickly, put it into the taxi, and it will keep each of the 3 passengers in their own separate space with a little slot for paying the taxi driver. So that's the idea. Okay. After a few iterations and testing, we find that actually it works quite well, and the taxi drivers like it. And because it's a flat pack, we're able now to sell this as a solution to other taxi drivers and other taxi owners. So a simple bendable material, 2 pieces, one goes down the length of the taxi and the other one goes across the width of the taxi, and you just slot it in, slot it together, and you've created 4 separate spaces in the taxi. We take that out, we develop it, we develop the prototype, and this slide that takes you through this process. You develop the prototype, you go out there and test it, and if it doesn't work, you abandon it. Fail fast and get rid of it quickly. But if it's working, then the next stage is to upscale it and roll it out to your potential customers. So this is an example of how to really take a very simple idea, or starting with the needs of your customers, how to develop a very simple idea, simple product, which you can then test out quickly, prototype, test out quickly, and discard if it doesn't work, or rework it if it doesn't work, until it comes up to a product that actually does work and can go to market. So just as a very simple example. Okay, so having developed it, redeveloped it, trialed it, if it works, adopt it and scale up if it's something that that would fits the market and has created a market there for you to deploy this particular product. Then you scale up and distribute. So this is the approach you want to take. So having seen that particular 5-step process, I want us to think about what are the key advantages of this design thinking approach. And just share with me on the slide, what do you think are the main advantages here? Again, on the chat, what are the main advantages? And don't forget to share your comments with everybody. So don't just write to one panel, write to all the panelists so we can all see your ideas. Just reflecting on that process, what do you think are the the advantages of this particular approach. Okay. Again, and that's great, Nathan. Great point. You know, you're solving a problem, which means there's always going to be an interest in the idea. Okay. Katrina, great. It forces you to think through different perspectives, and I like that. So you're thinking about the problem from the perspective of the customer rather than from your personal perspective, because we all have our own individual biases, especially if we are people that are steeped in a particular profession or particular approach. Yes. Forcing that, sorry, another idea on that. It's radical and a unique value proposition. Yes, because you're allowing free flow, free thinking of ideas to come forward, rather than constraining people's thinking too early in the cycle. Okay, it's very simple. I think someone else is saying that it's very simple idea, and it's a way of thinking. Yeah. So Leon is talking about it gives you starts with the correct definition of the problem, which is again important. It's for the customer, because it's your customers that are going to buy the solution, not the business owner. So having an idea from your perspective is not good enough. You've got to get it from the customer's perspective, because they're the ones that are going to buy the solution. Encourages innovative thinking. Thank you, Gideon. And allows for redesigning of the product if it doesn't work. Absolutely. And especially if you take on board the idea of prototyping and building a prototype quickly, and then if it doesn't work, ditch it fast. Yeah, that's a really important discipline. Yeah. Yep, creates a product that's relevant to the market. Absolutely. And I like the idea. I like that, Valentina. Allows one to determine the root cause of the problem. Absolutely, absolutely, root cause, because there's no point creating, and that's why the definition stage is so important. Get you to define, put in writing, what do you think the problem is, and then allows you to focus your energy on trying to come up with solutions for that problem. High quality product because the defects are identified before launching, before you spend a lot of money. It allows, thank you, Erica, it allows for disruptive thinking. Absolutely, yeah. And customer satisfaction, Katrina, thank you very much for that, is really important, because if you don't satisfy your customer, you won't be in business long. So the advantages. Allows for the imagination or imaginative ideas, creative ideas, and it's able to be done quickly. Okay, so in summary, in this session, what have we learned? We dealt with the course objectives, etc., and the timing and when we'll be coming back. And we've learned about design thinking as a tool for developing your product or service for any product or service. That's the point. It is not specific to services. It's not specific to products. It's not specific to, greenfield. For instance, wherever you're starting from, it can still work. If you're starting from the point of view you want to become an entrepreneur, a gig entrepreneur, but you've got no products in your storehouse, and you want to come up with a product, then as I think Nathan talked about, that it starts from the problem. Where's the problem? If you can see a problem in your everyday activities and it irritates you, then it's probably irritating a lot of people. If you can come up with a solution to that, maybe people will be willing to buy that solution from you. So it starts from, or it could be that you've already got products in your arsenal, so to speak. You've got a list of products, or you've got some ideas of products you got, and you want to improve them. This tool will help you to do that. Or it could be that you just want to diversify. Remember we talked about that a baker, a cake maker. You may be in a situation where you're making cakes for birthday cakes, And when you make the cake, you take it over to the party, and they pay you a fee for making the cake, and they love your cakes, wonderful cake. But you're thinking, how can I make this, extend this product, or extend this value proposition of this business? You may think, okay, I'm doing a lot of work for birthday parties, for young children birthday parties. What if I talk to my customers, see how I can improve this service to them? And you go to them and say, okay, I bring the cake and we put the cake at the table, and it's great, it's wonderful, but what if we could make it a really great experience for the child? Yeah, and maybe that's one of the things your customers told you. It'd be really nice if I'm trying to create an experience for my child. So the cake, a wonderfully made cake's a really great idea. You think, so the customer wants an enhanced experience. You think, okay, what if I say to the customer, you tell me what your favorite toy or your favorite cartoon is for your child, and then you go down to your local fancy dress shop and buy the tools. So if they're really into Spider-Man, you could dress up as Spider-Man and turn up on the day with the cake. There's a Spider-Man bringing their birthday cake. Now what you've done there is you've taken a product and added a service, a value-added service, and now you can charge an extra premium for the cake and the service, because now you've just created an experience, an additional experience for the family and the birthday child. See how this particular tool can be useful, because it is a way of thinking and a way of approaching a problem. Okay. Next steps. Next steps is for any idea, and this is the case with all management tools, is that you've got to, let's do some reading around them. We've just given you a list of articles and that you could use. It's not compulsory. Please don't think it's compulsory to do this, but a list of articles that you can go and do some background research on to get deeper into the idea, because there's lots of applications for this particular tool. But key is to practice thinking like this. You don't even have to, in the first instances, have to implement the ideas, but working through the steps, then start thinking about, if I empathize, what kind of solution I'm going to get, what kind of feedback I'm going to get. Define the problem, so talk to a few people, get the empathy, get the feedback from the customers, define the problem, then start to brainstorm, ideation stage, prototyping, and just conceptually work your way through the cycle. Reflect on the process, reflect on how it can help you create solutions in different situations, and then engage in the discussion, please, on Facebook. Everybody who's on here, if you've got a Facebook account, we've got a Facebook forum where you can share ideas and engage with the other people, other attendees on this course. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of this session. The next session is we're going to be looking at how to get your product or manufacture your product or get your service to market. So we're looking at operations. And for those, for people, if you've got friends or family who missed this session but would like to get involved, this session will run again tomorrow. And Daisy, who's handling the logistics part of this, will remind you of the time this session will replay again for tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much for attending, and thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.